second for you. Getting closer.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Getting Close Up, the show focused on independent artists and creatives. I'm your host, Danielle Cox, and before I intro my guests, I just want to thank all of you that have subscribed. I thank you for watching the videos, and if you want to make sure that you support us in our effort to support independent artists, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Artists like the two that I have with me today are one of the reasons why we do this show, to tell their stories and their journey and hopefully inspire and endear them to you all. I have a couple of friends with me today that started out their journey a decade ago, and through the twists and turns of life have found their way back to each other to create music. Today, we are getting close up with Melinda Edlin and Oliver Hughes of Madness and Melody. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, look at all shiny and bright, and look at our color palette.
We got it going
The
on.
aubergine
I'm
chairs.
pretty dark.
Yeah, no,
I need some color around me to pop, you know.
It works. And I have to do this. I cannot resist, honestly. The dad joke lover in me and the corny person in me has to ask, who's Madness and who's Melody?
You know, we were asked that the first time we went to an open mic, and I don't think we even answered. But the woman that asked it was like, "Oh, you're definitely Madness, and she's Melody."
I didn't want to judge.
But you thought it, didn't you?
I thought it for half a second, but I didn't want to judge.
You know, I'm happy to just accept that, even though those roles do switch a lot. You know, we chose the words because we both kind of have both. You know,
yeah,
a little crazy and a little lovely.
And a little lovely.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're.
I didn't mean to put you down. You know, I could be the crazy and the lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can be crazy.
Fair enough.
We know that.
I'm perfectly fine with calling you lovely.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll take it.
So, you guys, so I did a little digging into both of you, and you guys are like literally onions of talent. Different layers in everything that you have going on. You're a poet, songwriter, mom, and looking into some of your music, because both of you have solo projects as well outside of this, you have a knack for the melancholic and yet hopeful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Where does that come from?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, you know, even as a kid, like I just was a little sad. I think I'm not afraid. My personality type is not afraid to kind of look over the edge into the dark. And once you do that, you carry it with you. And so you keep that with you, and it informs everything that you create from that honest place. And there's some sadness there, but there's also hope. Yeah,
it is very honest. I listened to your song 3 Ships and ugly cried for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, same.
It's so beautiful and hopeful, and it's not the kind of Christmas song people would expect,
right.
But it is a part of most people's lives, having to ponder loss in a time that's supposed to be the happiest time of the year for many people. What made you take that approach, and what was the inspiration behind that?
My best friend lost her mother right around Thanksgiving. Actually, it was on Thanksgiving Day, and I walked with her in that season through all the holidays, and it just kind of was very much in my experience and in my face to see how someone can be walking through the, you know, celebratory season of Christmas, carrying something so heavy and such a, burden, and just the isolation of carrying that into a season when everyone's, singing Joy to the World and buying Christmas gifts, and
Exactly.
you're just heart sick. And so I think that inspired that song, walking through that loss with my best friend. Mm-hmm.
It was a very beautiful and poignant way that you captured that. And speaking of that, you, Oliver, are a filmmaker. You have a mini documentary out, and for me, what I felt is that you find the heart in the story and you champion it. Like, you guns blazing go in there and you defend it, but you don't do it with loudness and banging and clashing, but you just want to show the heart. Talk to me a little bit about your journey in filmmaking and like why you choose the subjects that you do.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I got started professionally in 2014, and I've always been drawn to moving stories, even just doing the commercial thing. Because when you do commercial filmmaking, you have to deal with a lot of kind of ho-hum regular clients, as it were. You work for a bank here or a golf course, just making commercial videos. But, excuse me. But what I found is that even in those so-called mundane videos, there's a story to be told. And I would just approach any project like wanting to find the heart. Because if you run a business or you run an organization or a nonprofit or anything, there's a reason you're doing it. And it connects to something about yourself that you want to put out into the world, whether you make t-shirts or sell tickets or whatever it is. And I think one of my gifts is just to get one-on-one with people and like look them dead in the eyes. And after all the pomp and circumstance of the marketing spiels are done, it's like, why do you do this? Why are you here? And you kind of drill into that question and you just get some fascinating things. And so because of that, and because I also kind of got started just making free videos for nonprofits in the city, because I love nonprofit work. Like, I just love when people just put themselves out there for a cause that needs causing, you know what I mean? And it was my idea to get more clients by just doing free work and hoping that people see it and it takes off, which it did. But when you work with people that are directly dealing with something in the city that is tender already, you get even more of a why. And so that led me to my first mini doc, which is actually about the city of Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes.
Where we sit right now. And it was just a fascinating story that you would never know.
No, it was overlooked. Correct?
Overlooked, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's, at the time when you were doing it, it was a very pivotal time.
Yeah.
Because it focuses, and I'll let you explain a little bit too, but it focuses on the immigrant experience and the positive impact of them particularly the community within Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Right.
Why did you feel at that moment that it was so important to do that?
Well, we were in a transitional time politically and culturally where the immigrant, and I'm putting quotes up, the idea of an immigrant was becoming a profound negative. Right. Like, they're just coming into the country illegally, they're stealing our jobs, they're draining our resources, they're using our Medicare, Medicaid. And if you don't dig on any of those things that are kind of pushed out towards us, you can just kind of fall into the camp and just assume that's probably true. So I met Jarrett Meek, who runs Mission Adelante, which is just down the street, and they focus on helping Spanish-speaking people learn English, get jobs, assimilate, like that kind of stuff. Folks that are just here that need some help figuring out our culture, because it's a different culture in America. And he just started doing research on some hard stats, like what does the community look like now that there's been a massive influx of Hispanic and Latino people coming from all parts of Mexico and South Central America. And, over the 20-year period that they started moving to Kansas City, Kansas, all these stats, crime rate was going down, the cost of houses was going up, there was jobs being provided directly by immigrant-owned businesses right here in Kansas City, Kansas. And it was overlooked because we look at big gentrification projects in KCMO, a huge development of the Power and Light District 20 years ago, and that's the one that makes the news. Right. But what happens with gentrification is a big rich developer comes in, kicks everyone who can't afford it anymore out, and they move to the east, the north, or the south, and then it's just an entertainment district from folks that don't even live in the neighborhood. Exactly. So it's almost like this silent gentrification where the community is getting better because of these people are coming from other places and just investing in their own community in a way that does make it more economically flourishing without having to move anybody anywhere. So it's just a really beautiful story because, you know, there was a big recession in 2008, and one of the reasons our cities didn't get hit as hard was because a lot in part to the immigrant population that was there, and here in Detroit and LA and even parts of New York. But yeah, it just compelled me because it's just an underdog story that flies right in the face of the narrative that we were hearing in those days.
Yeah, it really did. And so I just, looking at that and watching that, I felt that you were wanting to change people's minds by appealing to their hearts and also showing facts. And I just thought that was really, really awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, with the background that you both have in doing projects on your own, let's go back a little bit to 2012. When you say that you first performed together.
Yeah.
How did you guys link up originally?
Yeah.
Well, we ended up at the same church is how it started. Mm-hmm. So we got to know each other playing, you know, at church. And then in 2013 or 14?
13 was the Folly.
Okay. I was kind of pursuing pretty single-focusedly. That's not a word.
It's going to be today. Well, it'll be a word today.
I had a singular focus to kind of get my artist career going. I had won a couple of songwriting competitions.
Oh, nice.
And I was ready to just go for it. And so rented out Folly for a price and filled the seats. And we just kind of, my husband and I planned it. He did everything else with that whole event, I guess you could say. We made it into, we got other local artists that had a little bit of a following, and we kind of got that show going. And I asked Oliver to play. So we were already, there was a whole group of us at that church, and we ended up playing. And it was so funny because I remember one of the guys who was with us said, I had brought a bunch of Christmas songs because it was a Christmas concert.
Oh, okay.
And so I was just thinking, oh, Christmas, okay. I guess I have to find a bunch of Christmas songs to do. So I got a bunch of charts and gathered and transcribed some things and, you know, got all the songs, and I brought them to the band. And I remember it was actually Brandon Draper. Mm-hmm. And this sticks with me still. He just said, I thought we were going to play your songs. And it was just like oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. Because I'm a songwriter and an artist, not, you know.
It hadn't even occurred to you to like put out your material.
I was just like
the
Christmas concert, copy, paste. Right. And so I went home, and actually that also was what got me into writing, and that's where Three Ships came about.
Oh, wow.
Because I took all these, you know, classic Christmas songs to the group, and then Brandon Draper said, but I wanted to sing your songs. That's what I signed up for. So I went home and wrote a Christmas song, and that was one of them that won the second songwriting competition that I won. So it was it was birthed out of truth, because I had just walked through that with my dear friend. But also like that deadline and stepping into that next, you know, the next right thing creatively, then kind of forced me to create something different. And so anyway, that's how we first got together. And I remember, you know, we know each other so much better now because we spent a ton of time together. But even back then, I just remember being a couple of funny things about Oliver from back then. Number one, he told me I had lipstick on my teeth.
Aww.
Which just was amazing because nobody else did. And it was like, I just felt like a kinship.
Somebody needs to tell the truth.
Somebody does. And it just felt like, you know, I had my brother with me or something, you know. Right. And the other thing was, we got up on stage and we were about to start. And I looked over at you and I go, are you nervous? And he goes, what do you want to hear?
What are you seeking?
What do you want to hear? Like, you didn't want to let me down, but I think you were pretty nervous.
Yeah, but I didn't want you to feel more nervous because it was your show. I was just kind of in the sidelines, you know, playing the guitar.
But you also couldn't lie. It's not really in your nature to lie. So
right.
What do you want to hear?
What do you want to hear is a very interesting question.
I know.
Because it's kind of comforting and not at the same time.
Yeah.
it kind of sets it up either way.
That's right.
Those are the two things I remember.
Well, yeah, but then in 2015, we went down to Lebanon, Missouri
Oh yeah,
to play another
that's
Christmas
right.
show. So she had
Okay.
left the church I was at to go to a different campus of it. And so, I was still at the Brookside campus of this place, and you went downtown.
Yep.
So we kind of lost our musical touch, but
Yep.
you were playing with another guy, Ryan Heiser, and he couldn't make the show, so you had to call up your backup. And yeah.
That's not.
Hey, no problem with being the backup, Things are different now.
You're not the backup
Not
now.
harboring anything about that whatsoever. It's like,
Yeah, I was really sad
No
and
harm,
bitter
no
for a
foul.
long time. Not really. But that one was a very silly but fun show.
Yes.
Because we
that
were
was
in a
silly.
conglomeration of very traditionally small town American
Yes.
Christmas lore. So it was very silly.
Christmas lore.
There was a lot of skits, and it just made me cringe to my core that we were a part of it. But then we got up there and just rocked some good songs,
It was
including
good.
Three Ships.
It was great, and it was well attended,
Yeah.
so it was a fun one,
Yep.
and it was paid.
It
oh,
was.
that's also very
That's
important.
awesome. It was fun.
That's also very important.
It was fun.
And so going from that type of start, having like that kind of connection, being able to lean on each other, and then having, well, again, I use the word connection because that's really what it is, musically with one another and your styles. So in talking about how you guys met, and then there was a huge span of time between then and now when you get back together in order to create Madness and Melody. So tell me about the changes you both went through that drove you back to wanting to do music together again.
Well, about a week after that show that we did in 2015, my husband and my kids and I all moved to Nashville to kind of pursue the artist career in the music business. And we were there for about 5.5 years, and it was challenging. We moved away from family and friends and the community we had. Our kids were really young. They were 1 and 4.
Wow.
And we were completely alone. It was a challenge. I learned a lot. It was kind of really more of an education than anything, but it was not super easy. And then in March 2020, our house got hit directly by a tornado. So yeah, so that the alarm went off around midnight. We all got up, thank goodness, got to the hallway, shut the doors to the other rooms, and within I think it was about 1 or 2 minutes margin, it was directly on us. And so it was very loud. And then after it passed, it was silent. We were all kind of choking on insulation and things. And so just huddled up in the hallway. And then when we kind of woke up after that, in a sense, because you're kind of at least I disassociate. So I was
yeah, and that 1 to 2
really
minutes had to feel like forever.
Yes. And it was quick, but it was very loud. And anyway, so then when it went away and it was very quiet, my husband got up and was like, all right, what do we do? So he opened the door to the kids' room, and it was completely demolished. The walls and the ceiling were gone. And then we went to our bedroom, and the wall had fallen completely onto our bed, and every room kind of looked that way. There wasn't a safe room to stay in. And so we had to, and both of our cars were totaled too because trees had fallen on them. So we had to kind of call at midnight a friend of ours to come and pick us up. And it took a long time, of course, because that tornado was on the ground for, I can't remember how long, but it was a long time.
It was a big one.
It was a huge one. And so anyway, we kind of packed up a suitcase and off we went, 2 kids, a dog, and me and my husband. And, then of course, within a week or so, it was COVID. So when COVID really went, full throttle, we were in a hotel room trying to replace our cars and take inventory of the loss of everything and trying to figure out where we're going to go, what are we going to do. So that was our experience in Nashville. And then during that time, I don't know if you want to share about your experience during that time.
Well, it's funny because her husband, John, called me after the tornado and asked if I could come to Nashville to film you playing a song that you just wrote.
I wrote a song about the experience, and I really wanted to film it from the inside of that house, which would have been, it's a tall order. I just thought it would be really cool to have like an upright piano in there, and
just
like
in the midst of all that.
Yeah. I just thought that would be really beautiful, and a lot of our community lost everything too. So anyway, I thought that would be really meaningful, but then of course it was COVID.
Right.
So
well, and I said, no, I can't. I lost all my work, and I'm moving back in with my ex-wife, and I have nowhere to stay. So I wasn't in a great place either.
Yeah.
So.
Like you just both had so much tumult in that particular time.
Right.
And it's such a common theme that I hear with a lot of the artists that I've talked to, is that time span between 2018 and 2020 was just monumental.
Yeah.
And then they found their way either back to music, into music, or whatever art it is that they had in their heart before. They discovered something new within that time. So with Madness and Melody, you guys get together. Tell me more about what kind of music, or how would you describe your music?
Yeah. Well, I'll just say that when we did get together, we had coffee in 2021, right after they had just moved back. Yep. And, Melinda was just asking me, are you doing any music? And I was like, no. I mean, I'm just hanging on here trying to get what I can. Because I had gotten into the cinematic music realm. I was working for an agency in Portland, making kind of like scores for commercial films and mini docs and stuff. And that had kind of dried up, and I wasn't really liking it. I've always loved the idea of playing music. Haven't tried to do it solo for many years. So when she called, I was happy to meet, but so after that coffee meeting, I said, well, I've written a little instrumental piano piece. It's nothing yet. And I just sent it to her, just see, if we want to try to make something. I didn't hold out too much hope for it because I didn't feel a lot of momentum there at all. But she turned something right back at me that I just listened through on the iPhone recording, and I'm in tears. Listen to this thing, because she wrote it about me, really, in my situation. Yeah. And the chord progression I wrote was really pretty and had a lot of soul, but it wasn't going anywhere. And then she wrote the melody and the lyrics. And so then that night I took it to my sister's house and showed like my mom, my brother, and everyone's in tears. And so it was a thing, but it took us a long time to circle back to it.
It took us a minute. Yeah.
So when you came up with, because right now you've just released a new single, Skeleton Woman. Yes. And I just want to start out by saying that cover art to that is beautiful. The artwork to that is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So funny story. We found an artist that paints these gorgeous, the Calavera skulls on women. Like all her work is that kind of the Dia de los Muertos thing. Yeah. And it's just the most beautiful, just sucks you in, and it's so melancholy, and there's so much emotion in the face. And I reached out to this woman, and I was like, hey, how much to license one of your pieces for our album? I sent her the song and all this stuff, and she didn't get back to me for a while. And she came back and she was like, oh, reasonable, something like $5,000. And I was like,
that's reasonable.
I love valuing art. I can't do that. So I don't know if this is a cool story or a sad story. I went to AI and I started putting in keywords, and at first it looked really wonky. And then I put in more and more keywords. I had all this stuff about the woman and the paint. And then I said in the style of Van Gogh, and then oil on canvas. And I just kept doing that until we got that woman. And then I took it to Photoshop, had the new Photoshop AI make that gorgeous background. And then I layered a bunch of little stuff over it, and had a friend of mine hand letter the title. So that's the real artist, was a woman named Andrea that did the Skeleton Woman. But so that's how it came to be. And it is gorgeous, which I don't know if that's scary or cool.
That's both.
Yes.
Don't you feel like if anybody should be able to take advantage of AI in that way, it's musicians?
I think so.
They should be able to,
I think so.
Everything costs so much.
Everything does cost so much. So
one of these days, I'm going to go back to old Sylvia and be like, we have the money now. We want a custom piece, but we don't yet.
Replace that. Yeah.
Like, we want a custom piece. We're able to do it now.
Yeah, right.
This is what we had to do it first.
I just told her to put a bookmark in it,
Yeah.
Just wait.
Just put a sticky note on that.
Yeah.
There you go.
So for you guys as a duo, what, since coming together, has been the most challenging part of working on music now than had it been when you were separate?
You know, I think the challenge is unique because it's very different. Before, the challenge was there was so much headway and so much momentum against you as a solo musician, at least for me, and I think both of us.
Yes.
Where like if you want to write and play songs and do that all alone, it's going to suck you dry. It's so hard. You need some support. So when we came together, we found an incredible support just being together and writing together and just playing together. I mean, just playing together is like a blast. So we got that part covered. And so the challenges for us is really schedules, logistics, writing, making songs work. Like you'll write a song and it may not really feel like us, or I'll write a song that feels more like me or something, and just picking what's us and figuring out what us is one of the challenges. And then, you know, finding gigs, finding people to connect with.
Overall, though, so much better together.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that's why there was some hesitation to that answer. Because I feel like I was at the end of my rope with the artist career by myself, and I was bored with everything I was writing.
Oh, yeah.
And when you bring me something that you come up with, it actually breaks down some of those barriers. Like, I don't have to, you know, I didn't write that. So, you know, it is what it is.
So if it
I
sucks,
didn't come
it's
up
my
with it.
fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's
Which
exactly
is a
it.
freedom.
I know.
I mean, that's a joke, but also true.
True. Seriously.
And same with yours. You know?
Well, that was going to be my next question. Like, what things have you found are easier with the two of you working on
Pretty
them?
much everything.
Yeah.
For me, that's my answer. I don't know. I may be really hard to work with, so
Well,
I don't know.
That's the same both ways
Yeah,
because
lipstick on your teeth all the time.
that's right. That's how you need me.
Wait, do I have lipstick?
No, you're good.
Oh, you're clear right now.
Okay.
Yeah, looks great. But what do you want to hear?
What do you want to hear?
No, I think that we'll go in stages of who's got the internal momentum and drive.
Oh, that is true.
And if I'm out of it and you're in it, we're still moving because you're doing it. Or if it shifts, that's been a real beautiful part that makes it just continue moving, because we got both of us here and her husband, John, behind the scenes. I mean, he's
Huge supporter.
strategizing, he's thinking through.
Oh, that's good.
He made the
Huge supporter.
website. I mean,
He did.
So, because we really need a manager real bad. I mean,
really do.
we're like two toddlers
Yes.
in the playground that like don't know what time it is.
And maybe that's the answer to the question. We are so similar in personality that I think that could be a problem sometimes, because, if we're not kind of on the same level, I mean, I hope it's okay to say, like, I know for me, I can be really like motivated depending on how I'm feeling and what's going on, and just like, okay, let's do this. And then like other times not, and just very minimalistic on what we're doing, very slow, kind of, you know, it's that mental, you know, the waves that come with being a creative person. And Oliver is similar. And so sometimes I think have there been times when I'm like texting you all these things and you're just like a little overwhelmed because
today.
I'm on a high?
Not today.
And then vice versa. Like the other day you were texting me a bunch of stuff and I was like, blah, you know, like I'm barely getting my clothes on today. So, I mean, I don't know. We're just kind of that both creative energies and kind of living on the floodplains day to day.
A lot of creatives have that as a challenge, because
for sure
it can be out focused or needing the administrative things done, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can be as creative as you want to be, because a lot of the ho-hum and mechanical things of it can be kind of boring and take you out of it. So really for you guys, it's about finding that third wheel that can maybe kind of bring the energy in.
For sure.
Right.
And so what have you been working on here lately? Like, what's next?
Well, that's a great question too. What was really fun recently is we played the Plaza Art Fair yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was a huge storm in Kansas City. And so we were actually the first band to perform yesterday because they had to cancel the whole morning. So we got really lucky. But the net effect of that was there was a ton of people out right there because they had all been sheltering in place, and it was a pretty big storm. So everyone was out there. And what was really fun of the last few weeks is, instead of just playing our songs kind of in the background like you have to do if you're at a restaurant or playing a bar, we really got to sit down and craft a set, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, here's the order of songs and here's why. And we're going to really kind of jam out before this one and go right into that one. Then you'll talk after this one. And that just, is so much fun because that's like what I loved to do when I was
fun.
younger. You know, you go to a show when you're a kid and you're just mesmerized by the artist and the way they play the songs that you've heard on the radio or on your CD, and it's different on stage. And that just used to absolutely rock my world. So to even just a little bit get back to that
For sure.
was a blast. But what are we doing going forward?
Yeah.
Where we're going to start writing again.
Yep, we have a good amount of songs, and we've been playing out a ton. And we just put out our first single, and so the next thing I think for us is starting to decide what's next. What are we going to put out next? So we get together weekly to kind of hammer that out. So we're still moving forward on that, and new content. So I'm really excited about that. I love writing new content. So that's kind of the next step. And then, did you want to share about next weekend, or is that not something?
Oh yeah,
that
well,
we can talk about.
What is fun? We haven't gotten the confirmation on timing, but we were accepted as one of 5 bands to compete in the American Royal World Series of Barbecue Battle of the Bands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which is out at the Kansas Speedway.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that's going to look like. We just get 20 minutes on the stage, and it's just 5 bands. And then at 6 p.m., they're going to announce the winner. And it's a $3,000 reward and a bunch of cool exposure with the American Royal. So that was pretty exciting.
We're really excited about that.
And by the time this airs, we'll, of course, know whether or not you
We'll know.
won. I'll keep up with you guys.
Okay.
And
Right.
you definitely post. And where can people keep up with you, though, to know what's going on with you and and follow your music and things like that?
Instagram.
Instagram.
That's the only one we use. I made all the other ones, but...
We have Facebook and TikTok, and then we also have our website.
Right.
And that...
Well, yeah, Johnson, you've been keeping up the website. So if you go to madnessandmelody.com, it'll say our upcoming shows, releases and stuff.
All of that is
But
down
Instagram's
there,
where
too.
the real-time stuff is getting pumped out. So go follow us at Madness
and
and
that's
Melody.
really easy to do, to keep up with Instagram. And you guys are on there posting a lot. And I think that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to what you guys do next. Because I love your individual stuff. I also love what you're doing together. And I can't wait to see what sound forms between the two of you and what personality becomes of this.
Yeah.
Because I do see a lot of y'all similarities. And even looking on the outside, people go, they're not at all similar. There's no way. But you really are. And I can feel that. And I think that's so awesome.
And we may not look
you.
the same, you know.
I mean, it's a little bit if you squint. So thank you so much for being with me today and talking to me about your journey. And again, I really can't wait to see what's next.
No, thanks for having us on.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And that wraps up today's show, guys. I'd like to again thank Madness and Melody for being here with me today and sharing their awesome story. The links that they gave will be down in the description box below, so definitely check them out. If you had as much fun as we did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so that we can keep bringing it to you. New episodes of Getting Close Up are bi-weekly on Fridays, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And next week, tune in to GCU Reviews with me and Dee, and we give you the tea on what's hot and what's not. You don't want to miss it. Thanks again for watching. You all are awesome, and I'll see you again soon for another Close Up. I'll be checking for you. Bye.